Hey everyone, welcome back to Sharp Cuts. We're here with myself, Garrett May, Josh Nickel, and the legendary Olympic bronze medalist, Mark Heese. Welcome to the show, Mark. We were going to have on the big shooter, my biological father, John May, but he had an urgent boat trip that he couldn't cancel, he couldn't get out of, he had to go to. So, that's how it rolls on this show, unprofessional. But how you doing, Mark? Welcome to the show.
I'm doing fine. I wish I was on a boat trip, but
that's the commentary on Sharp Cuts. Everyone wishes they were actually doing something fun, but hey, we're stuck here.
No, nice to see you and Josh again, Garrett. I saw you both at the beach just yesterday, so I can't say it's been a while.
That's true. We're all out here working hard. Well, I shouldn't say that, Josh, because I'm not seeing you sweat much when you're down there, are you, bud?
No, Garrett, we've discussed this. Leadership to me is giving it to other people. So I just like to facilitate and create this culture, this organization, but really the athletes, they're the ones being empowered, Garrett. Well, you should try sometime. You should try letting the athletes have some power. You might enjoy it.
No, not a chance whatsoever. Can't let them have an ounce.
What is son, your court, Garrett? You were like pounding balls. Who was that? Was she like a 14-year-old? 14-year-old, you were hammering balls and screaming at. I thought, wow, that was pretty intense.
Yeah, actually, she's 12U, and I did not hold back. I mean, you should know. 17U athlete, been training. Mark, you're down there with your son training. Now we have to get this out of the right away. I mean, we got a lot of cool stuff we want to talk about, but there's some tension. I can feel it between you two guys because there's a tournament coming up, and when this show airs, the tournament will have been finished. So we kind of have a weird time loop here. But Mark, you're playing. Josh, your guys are going. I mean, predictions, guys, because we'll see when the show airs who was right. Mark, are you going to pummel some national team boys?
Absolutely. That's what I take all those national team guys and I give them a lesson. I've done it for years. Just because I'm 52 doesn't mean I can't still do it.
Now, Garrett, there's a ripple effect already because Mark Heese is playing with Marcus Laheese, and it's going to be a great team. They've actually pushed some teams down in the rankings, so now we've got national team guys in the qualifier, and they're not too happy about it. So when we do match up, it's going to be
stop
game
everything.
On.
So Mark entering the tournament is pushing national team guys into the qualifier.
It did. At least one team, maybe two. And Garrett, obviously, Austin Valius, who you know really well. Austin is in the qualifier. So Mark is living off this 1996. And don't get me wrong, he's a great time for Canadian volleyball. But he's still getting wild cards in 2021, Garrett.
I've been milking that thing for 25 I don't see a stop to it. It's just going to keep on going. Josh, explain to me this, though, because, I'm one team, my son and I, Marcus. How am I pushing multiple national teams into the qualifier?
Just fear. No, it's just fear. Like they actually elected to be in the qualifier because they need to get their head straight.
What I'm trying to do, Mark, is just start telling the story. So when they do match up, they're not going to be like, "Oh, we're playing against Marquise, and that's his son Marcus over there." And they're going to start like, "Now I want to get them scared early." So on Wednesday they know. So by Saturday or Sunday when it happens, they're going to be like, "Ooh, I've been waiting for this chance all week. This is going to be the best part of my week."
It won't catch them by surprise. You're ruining my ace in the hole.
Well, hey, nobody's hearing this show until the tournament's done, so check the results online now. Mark, you got any chirps in the bag? I mean, you can share them now. Actually, maybe you should hold that back because Josh might go tell these guys actually what you're planning.
Well, I'll play it by ear because there's a part that just wants to be my normal, steady self, boring. Oh. But there's also a part of me that just wants to ham it up like this show, like you described how we're supposed to be on this show. There's a part of me that just wants to, just soak up the moment. I'm playing with my son. It's a bucket list item for me to play with your son in a pro or semi-pro event. And I just want to smile and laugh at it. I really have no idea the level that I'm at. I mean, I played a grand, what was it called? A Grand Slam or a Grand Prix in the OVA.
Not important.
4 or 5 years ago. And I could compete, but I did have Maverick Hatch and we did a lot of 2 balls.
Yeah. Okay.
But we'll see how it all shakes out. I'm going to have some fun and I'm going to compete. I just want to get through it without any major injuries. That's goal number one.
So Josh, we actually talked about this last week, and it's kind of perfect. Thank you for listening, by the way. If you're with us, hit that subscribe button, follow us, podcast, of course, welcome to the show. But we talked about this last week about how getting like the secret training in the morning, getting there early. So on Tuesday this week, I'm there early doing a little training session, secret training. Mark shows up after me, but before everyone else. And I noticed, because we talked about it, I noticed when you walked up, Josh, with the boys, and Mark and Marcus are full sweat, just two guys, full balls everywhere, like just full into the middle of their training session as these guys are lazily walking up. Did you bring it up? Was it a topic? Did you cover it at all? Because we talked about it last week.
I may have misplayed the situation because I know they saw it, but at that time, Garrett, I don't think the full list was out, or certainly the rankings weren't out. So I think they knew that Mark and his son Marcus were registered, but I don't think they knew that they were the ones who received the wild card, and it kind of shuffled things. But I maybe misplayed that because we amalgamated our next gen group and our summer group into one session, so we didn't actually go till 10 o'clock. So we're like starting the day kind of slow. Maybe I get high that we were more heat acclimation than you guys because you go so early it's cooler at the beach. I don't know what I could like brush this off as, but yeah, I could tell everybody had one eye on you guys, but I did not address it that time, Garrett. No.
I phoned ahead. I said, what's Marcus? Find out what the closest court to the national team courts that go. Okay, so it was all a big plan.
So you didn't, like Josh, point them out right as Mark's getting up and pounding one, full celebration, push-ups, like sprint, like sweating at that that didn't happen.
No, we're trying to beat this guy. I'm a big fan of him, but I'm loyal to my guys here, Garrett. I want them to get the results. I'm not here to celebrate Marquise. I'm here to compete with the guy.
I'm not sure how excited they'll be about beating a 52-year-old and an 18-year-old, but hey.
That's a good one too. Like you see them celebrate. Hey, what? Like I'm 52. What do you?
I'm interested seriously. So me getting into the main draw, Marcus and I getting into the main draw. Honestly, there was a national team that got bumped out. Like who? I'm interested.
Mitchell Newart, who took a fifth at the last Grand Prix, is playing with Evan Filardo, who's never played on the Quebec Tour event, so he has 0 points. So obviously they wanted to apply for a wild card. But when you're a promoter and you're looking over the wild card applications, if you've got a 3-time Olympian or a Queens player and a U of T player, like I think that's a pretty good decision. I'm not mad at the decision. I'm just saying,
even if you don't have an Olympian on the other side, you see a Queens player and a U of T player. I mean, they're going straight down. I mean, we've been through this on the show before. So I mean, Mark was getting in, no question. But maybe they didn't have to put those guys down, but they were just like, nah, get down there.
True. And Austin Valius, he's in the qualifier too, Garrett. So there's some names in the qualifier.
He absolutely deserves to be there. Okay, you got to give no special treatment to the Mays or anybody in that family. You got to make them earn it.
Yeah, no. I when I applied for the wild card, I just I applied by email, and then I attached a resume, and I said anybody else that might have a better resume, let me know. But
And I have some black and white 8x10s.
It was 5 pages long, just in straight bullet points.
I may have sent an older video of my, but 7 highest jump touch. It might have been from a while back, but
still 10-time national champion, all that good stuff.
How many times?
I think it was 10. Was it not? Is it more than 10?
No, I think it is 10. I thought you said 7. I'm like, no.
I think it's 10.
Resume.
Oh, okay, yeah. Josh clearly didn't see it. Okay, now obviously it hasn't happened yet, so if you're listening, check the results. What's the tournament even named, guys? I think some of our listeners maybe not even know. I clearly don't really even know that well. What's it called so we can see what the hell happened?
Cup Celtique or Coupe Celtique, something like this, yeah.
Okay, check it out. You'll see what actually happened. Wild. So, but we can move on because that actually hasn't happened yet. But speaking of something else that hasn't happened yet, and I'm kind of really curious and eager to talk with Mark about this for 2 reasons, because I think it's incredibly exciting, 1, and 2, I'm incredibly jealous. And that is, Mark, you're going to be the voice for Canadian volleyball at the Olympics for beach volleyball. Am I right? Like you're going to be on there. Is it every Canadian match? Like talk to us about what we can expect for you and what we can hear you, where we can hear you.
Well, this is the 3rd Olympics that I've been hired as the analyst. So there's a professional play-by-play person, and at each Olympics I've been paired up with a different play-by-play person. This time it's Claire Hanna, who's a former indoor national team player. She's in the industry and works out in Regina with CTV, I believe, and maybe a little bit with CBC. She was just in Europe 3 weeks at the World Championships, covering the Hockey World Championships, and then she went over to VNL, the Nations League, and called 3 more weeks of indoor volleyball. So yes, she'll be the voice, and I'm the color commentary, as you may call it. So she'll talk during the rallies, and then as soon as the ball's down, I'm asked to give my 2 cents. And yeah, it's the 3rd time doing it, and it's not an easy thing for me to do, but I enjoy it. It's 2 weeks watching my favorite sport, and this time we got some exciting things to cover. I mean, last time we had 4 Olympic teams, Canadian teams. This time we're down to 2, but there seems to be pretty, a little more electricity in the air and enthusiasm about the medal chances of these 2 teams.
Yeah, for sure. And so, I mean, I'm really reassured for our fans, Josh, and we've talked about this before, like that we're going to have 2 volleyball people on commentary and analysis on the broadcast here in Canada, because it's so frustrating when you get like even one volleyball person and a non-volleyball person on there, or even 2 people who have no idea what they're talking about with volleyball. So, I mean, I'm thankful. Mark, we've heard you before in previous Olympics. Obviously, you've done an amazing job. Are we expecting to hear you for every match that's on television, or is it just Canada, or like where can we expect?
I think there's about close to 100 matches total. And, so there's 10 matches a day for about 10 days, give or take 1 or 2. Don't quote me on that. And we usually, of the 10 matches in one day, we usually have to call about 7 or 8 of them. 6, 7 or 8 of them.
That's a long day, man.
They don't. Yeah, well, it's going to be a long night because all the matches are over.
Oh my gosh.
We start at about 9 at night, our time, and then we go 4 straight. So we'll stop around 1. We get an hour break, and then it's 2, 3, and 4 in the morning, and then we get a couple-hour break, and then it's, I think, 6, 7, and 8, or 7, 8, and 9 in the morning. And then I hope there's good curtains in the hotel room across the street, because we'll try to catch some Z's. Crazy schedule, but if you did it, you'd be like wowed, and I'm getting paid for this. Like, this is what I want to do anyway.
Well, thanks for bringing that up, Mark, because I would love to do it, and I mean, but I'm not doing it. You're doing it, so I mean, great. But so like,
well, send in your resume and see how it compares. Well, just like these wild cards.
Yeah, if I'm competing against you, yeah, I don't know, but hey. I thought you were going to say you're going to do it all night and then head into work for the day and then just do it. But that seems like a bit much.
Possible. Canuck stuff might have some VIP customers coming in, the national team. They might need some.
They need you.
I may have to hoof it up to Canuck. But I'm open to have a couple weeks off from the store. We'll see.
Okay.
Garrett, we got to ask him the tough question, because I think you've done a good job on this show. I'm still dipping my toe in. But, Mark, do you ever find when you're being a commentator or an analyst that it's hard to be critical, because you have so much love and respect for these players, and we do have personal relationships with them? But do you feel like if Melissa's not getting it done, like, you can say like what's happening and you can have an honest opinion?
Yeah, they want that. They love it when I say something that doesn't always compliment them. It's not authentic if you're always saying, everything great about them.
So they're giving you feedback like on that immediately.
Well, there's a producer in your ear all the time. And I ask them to be turned off and communicate through the play-by-play, because, I've been in the middle of a thought before, and then they start talking either to the play-by-play person or somebody else, or maybe to me, but it was very distracting. And I just asked, maybe turn the producer off, and if you really need me, go through the professional over here, because I'm trying to focus on what I want to say. But I did, we get reviewed after every match or every day. I can't remember exactly, but they specifically like when I'm not always complimenting them, or I say she needed to do that, or she didn't come through, why, and question things. They love that. So I mean, there's a lot to compliment. there's so much good stuff going on. But
I mean,
hey,
sometimes it's absolute trash. Like, it's going to be the Olympics, but it's not necessarily going to be all sunshine and roses.
well, there might be a few tough rallies. Yeah, Garrett. There's a certain amount of diplomacy that you might have to present it with.
Maybe that's why I'm not getting the call for anything, is because that's a tough skill.
It's not sharp cuts. Let's put it that way. There's a way to.
So people are actually listening, is what you mean by it's not sharp cuts.
There's some viewership. Yeah, there is.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right. Okay.
No, I mean it's you just have to mix it. You have to be truthful and you have to be into it and passionate and love what you're doing. And yeah, of course, there's going to be some things that criticize. They totally blew that decision. Why would they go back at hey when they had it on his partner? They had him in the tank. They came out of that timeout and they totally blew it. Would I terms? Probably not. But I would definitely question a strategy that was, to me, an obvious thing or an obvious wrong move.
Yeah. Kind of the same stuff I remember you giving me when I'd come back from a match. You'd have a whole list of very diplomatic ways to tell me what I did well and what I didn't do well. So, I mean, it sounds like pretty similar, and you're obviously great at it. I'm curious, too, because, like, they obviously, you can't say whatever you want. Commentary is a big thing, but you're the voice of our sport, right? People who don't know volleyball, they need you to kind of carry that and bring people through, educate them maybe or whatever. But, what I find is missing as a volleyball person is I was watching the indoor on CBC and, they're talking about the intricacies of our game and they're just kind of glossing over it a little bit. Like they're not necessarily getting into it. Like with the refs, for example, like if you see a bad call, are they telling you, hey, no, we can't talk about the refs like that? Or are they saying, no, hey, this is great. Like, let's feed that controversy. Let's tell the story.
Well, they want us to be decisive. And speaking of that, at match point in London.
Yes, absolutely.
When Emmanuel
and
Ricardo were playing against Emmanuel.
It was Alisson that year, and it was the Germans. Yeah,
all right.
It was right.
I thought I saw something jump.
I did too.
But here's what happened, because he hit it cross court. The Germans, sold that it was out. Something jumped. And this is match point, gold medal point at the Olympics. And, RJ Broadhead was the play-by-play. And he says, it's out. The referee called it out. It was out. And, the Germans are celebrating. And then they go to a replay. And in my mind, I'm thinking, I'm not sure that. But the producer ignored my usual request not to talk to me. He said, be decisive. And I had to. It was a great. Timely feedback, because I just said, and the line doesn't jump, because just as they showed it, the sand. So I think it was out, but I didn't know it was out until that replay showed it, and the sand kind of jumped back onto the line.
So you think even now that it was out, and you made a great call in saying, "Hey, be decisive." Yeah. All right, it's out. No, they're not taking this back.
So I said, he said, be decisive. And then they showed the ball just land just out. The sand jumped and maybe, flickered the line. But it was definitely after. And I said, and the line doesn't jump. And in the background, Reckerman was jumping. I said, but the Germans do.
So in your debrief after, is your producer going, Mark, that line you said about the line doesn't jump, but the Germans do? I mean, pure gold. Are we come on. That's an Emmy right there or whatever. Are we right?
If the producer didn't say, be decisive, I would have questioned it. I said, well, but the replay was right there, and I was brief, and they were happy.
Okay, so obviously on Olympic point, well, it sounds like then, even if it's tight on Olympic point, you want to be clear and go with the result. Well,
not necessarily the result. Just go with your call. Be clear. Right. He didn't agree with the ref.
Right. Okay.
Be decisive. Now the problem, and we're already preparing for it, because you want to be ready to call the gold medal match and match point, and you almost want to rehearse what you're going to say, but if you do, then it doesn't work. So you just want to be in the moment. And the problem with the video replay, like think about it, if you're an opponent and you swung and hit it, and yeah, you definitely hit out, but you had a challenge left. Why wouldn't you just call the challenge and see if maybe his shirt brushed the net or something? And you're just going to ruin the moment.
Yeah.
Because you want to, hey, that's Canada. And hold it a second, there's a challenge on the play. Like, it just ruins the moment.
Yeah.
But I know it's going to come, because if it's me and I'm losing match point, and I think there's even a remote chance that there was a possible net or something lucky that I may even see challenge, it's going to come, right? So that's the only concern that we have with this new challenge rule.
Okay. So what are you going to do? Like, so match point, somebody challenges anyway. It's a bad challenge. You ham it up like, and that's the game. It's a fruitless challenge. They're just going for it because it's match point. It's gold medal. And then it comes back. The guy's on the net, and you're like, oh my God.
The truth is, it's not my call, because I don't call. Okay. It's the play call. And so I just warned Claire, like, be prepared if this happens. And then if they go to the replay or the challenge in the video, they might be time for me to say a few words. But I'm hoping that the moment isn't ruined. And the other challenge will be, usually you let it breathe and they celebrate to the crowd. The crowd's going crazy. There's not going to be a crowd. So it's I'm interested to see how it all plays out. It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be different. And we're just going to, like I said, just go in there. All
right. Well, let's get your take then while we're on it, Mark, because Josh and I argued a little bit about this. We're talking about no crowd or lack of crowd. I think Melissa Yamanda Paredes told us, future Olympian for Canada at these games, told us that there's going to be a limited crowd. There's not going to be full crowd, but Japanese citizens are going to be allowed in limited capacity. Maybe that's changed.
I think that's changed.
That is, that's still up for conversation, but I believe they've removed even the local crowd.
Okay, so there's potentially no one. So Josh, I think that helps my point here. And I was on the side of, hey, that's going to change everything. It's going to give some teams an edge, some teams not. It's going to influence the results some way. I think Josh was maybe saying it's maybe an equalizer in that nobody's really getting any sort of action. Or am I mischaracterizing that, Josh? I don't want to throw you under the bus if that wasn't but you were saying that, right?
I was saying that, and I think maybe Melissa and Sarah just found an advantage, and Brandy played in it too. The AVP did an event with the court, but obviously no people around, so they've been in that experience, Alex and April. So maybe it'll affect the Europeans the most, because they've been playing in Ostrava, and which had looked like full bleachers at their last 4-star, right? So I don't think it's as big a deal as we're trying to make it out to be, Garrett, but maybe it does affect some players.
Well, I'm making it a big deal, because I make most things a big deal. But I'm interested where you fall, Mark. Maybe you can be the tiebreaker or bury me completely. I'm taking a risk like you did with that call on game point, no touch. What's your call on fans or not in the stands? How big of an impact?
I don't think it's much of an impact. By the way, between the two of you, was that your take, Garrett?
No, no, it absolutely was not.
I'm agreeing with Josh. If it was in Rio and there's no Brazilian fans to cheer Alisson and Bruno onto the gold medal, well, that's a different story. But we're in Japan. We don't expect that there's going to be too many Japanese teams in the final medal rounds. If there is, then it would be a disadvantage not to have your Japanese locals cheering you on. But I think I think every player in that tournament has played in the last year and a half some tournament that has no fans.
Right.
Last two were in Switzerland or last three in Ostrava and Sochi. They had fans, but Canadians and the Americans were there as well. So I don't think it's as big a deal as you may want to make it.
All right. Well, I'll swallow that. I'll eat that. The great Marquise is burying me completely. It's fine, Mark. I mean, welcome to Sharp Cuts, everybody. This is what you get here.
Sorry, Garrett.
No. Listen. It's totally fine. I'm not upset at all. It's not a big deal. So, well, speaking of not an impact? Who's going to make an impact? Because, Mark, obviously you're doing the work, you're studying. I'm curious to see who knows more about the teams. Well, it's probably Josh because it's his job. But, Mark, you're also studying the teams because you got to call the games. You got to know some information on them. Maybe not necessarily the ins and outs of their game, but I'm curious what maybe your thoughts and kind of previews are for, well, the Canadian content, but just the tournament as a whole.
He can probably be way more decisive. I feel like I've watched more video or read more stats on them, but he's probably got a more decisive opinion on this. That's for sure.
Well, you're unsure, Josh.
I just think everybody's good, and I hope everybody has a good time,
cut
Garrett.
that crap. Everybody's good. Mark just said Japan's not going to be a threat.
You know, if you want to talk about the Canadians, I believe that we could have one or two teams on the podium. I believe, and part of me and I can't be a Canadian fan on the air during the CBC.
Oh, you can't? Brutal. You're on CBC. They don't let you play homie?
No.
People have accused Hockey Night in Canada being Leafs fans for years. You can definitely pick a side here.
They don't want us to be homers, and the truth is, I don't want to be sounding like I'm just cheering for Canada too, because there's a lot of teams that I respect and I enjoy watching and I'm fans of. So I just want to impartially enjoy it. Yes, of course, I'm Canadian, and I'm putting out the good vibes for them. It would be a dream to see a Canadian on the top of the podium at the Olympics, and two teams on the podium. We've never had that opportunity or that potential, and I think it's a dream, and I'm putting it out there and planting the seed and trying to cultivate the good vibes, because that would be awesome. And we've got some pretty amazing athletes. All four of the women, Canadian women, are just amazing, and not just amazing skilled, just amazing people. They've got something special, and that's what I noticed when I was a player and I walked into the World Tour. The technical meetings, you just look around and you just the energy, the character, the quality of people in there. It was just like you're wowed and you're inspired. And our four Canadians, they've got something, that special oomph, that special quality that it wouldn't surprise me at all if they put it together at the Olympics in Japan and get onto that podium.
Well, that's exciting to hear, Mark. I'm really glad to hear that. I believe it too. I think we're all on board. I'm a little bit disappointed that you can't be bringing the home crowd mentality. I don't get that. Sorry, CBC, but I mean, like, Canadian Broadcasting Company. Like, is it not? It's broadcasting Canada. Like, what's the risk there? Like, when we're watching the Olympics for hockey, they're fully cheering. Like, is there? Maybe you can shed some insight.
Well, don't get me wrong. Everybody's cheering for the Canadians. We're all Canadian, but they just have a job to do, to be impartial and respect everybody. And it's the Canadian way. Not that we can't get more excited when Canada,
okay.
Right? I mean, there's a balance.
So you're not going out there and you're saying, oh, this opponent, they're absolutely terrible. Canada's going to wipe the floor with them 100%. I mean, that would be not great.
Well, that's just not the truth, right? So that's why you don't want to bias to overtake the authenticity of the broadcast. So, when Melissa gets a dig and Sarah pounds it on two, and it's a big point, I'll naturally get probably a little more excited.
Right.
With a Dutch player or something like that. Not that I have anything against the Dutch, but it's going to naturally come out. But they just don't want it to be so bias and overtake the broadcast. So it's a balance.
No, okay. That makes more sense, right? You can just be energized. They just don't want you to be saying falsehoods. They want everything to be true and keep it honorable, which I think we can all respect. It's the Canadian way.
And, we're going to cover every Canadian match, and we're going to skip over some other matches that aren't Canadian. So, there's already a little bias in there, but we're cheering for Canada. Absolutely.
Well, I'm cheering for a Marquise absolute rip into somebody doing something totally dumb. I'm looking for that. I'm going to be recording. I'm going to clip that for sure. I'm looking for it.
Do you have a certain player that you want me to specifically target? It sounds like you have a little something against some of the teams out there? Is there?
Well, I mean, there's some teams I used to play against who I am absolutely bitter at. I mean, I'm not going to hide it. That's maybe why I'm not qualified to commentate on anything. Because I'd be biased as hell. Like, I'd be like, oh, this guy's terrible. Used to be garbage. Like, I think I'm kind of bitter towards the guys who eliminated Canada. I mean, they made it and we didn't. Like, that's probably tough. I'm sure you're going to have to bring that up at some point, right? Like, that's a talking point. That's right.
Okay. All right. Well, give me your hit list, and we'll see what.
All right.
No.
Well, I'll have to get back to you on that. It's a long list. There's maybe 24 teams on there that are on my hit list. So.
I was thinking it might have been a team that you played in the past, like you played Alvaro in at the Junior World Championship in the final. Was he trash talking you through the net?
Nah, he's a good guy. I am undefeated against him, though.
The truth is, if you went one by one, all 96 athletes, it would be pretty hard to say he's not a good guy or a good gal. Like, they're pretty quality people, and I don't know all of them. There's a few continental champions that I've never even seen play. Trying to do some research on them, but most of them, they're pretty quality players and people. I keep saying that, but it's the truth about our.
Well, that's nice of you, Mark. I probably wouldn't be that nice, and I mean, it's Josh's job to break them down. So maybe you two guys can educate me as the fan, and maybe somebody doesn't know that much. Because on the men's side, I mean, we Canada missed out on having a team, but obviously the tournament's still going. It's one of the most watched sports, like at the Olympics, is volleyball and beach volleyball are super popular. People are going to be watching this stuff. Regardless, Canada's not in it, but who do we like? Who are we looking for on the men's side to really do some damage? There's a lot of great teams out there.
Yeah.
Well, I think the timing of the tour right now, Garrett, has built some drama because I think 2 years ago you'd be foolish not to pick Mole and Sorum, like the run they've had, but they've shown that they can be defeated the last few tournaments. So I think it's adding to the story really recently to the Olympics, where, like I said, in 2019 you'd be like, oh, they're gonna medal no matter what. They're gonna win probably like 70% chance. Now they've shown some flaws, so I think everybody's a little bit wide open on the guy's side.
Josh hinting he's got the scouting reports that are going to do the damage, but you can't send them to anybody, Josh. No.
Well, and I did a little video of my favorites, or the medal favorites for CBC. It aired sometime and somewhere, and afterwards I'm looking through the teams. And I forgot about Qatar.
Yes.
And now at the time, it was still before the last 3 European events but they had a good run in Cancun. They got some, we got to the finals, but they've kind of come out of nowhere. Not nowhere. They caused a little bit of ripple effect in last year and came strong. But, and one of them's been to the Olympics. But this year they are the hottest team. Like, they've got 6 finals out of 8 tournaments.
Oh yeah.
One of them, I think, was a 1-star to start the year. But let's say the last 7, they've got 5 finals out of 7 events. Like, there's nobody that's come close to that in terms of the consistency and how hot they are coming into the Olympics. You have to now put them, and they're the 3rd seed. You have to put them up your list if they weren't on it before, which they weren't on mine, a month and a half ago when I made that little video. So right now I'm a fan. I watch them play. They play right. Like, if there's a way to play beach volleyball with a mixture of passion, skills, like phenomenal skills, athleticism, volleyball IQ, and just like a love for the game.
Yeah.
Right. These guys, I mean, it's always fun when you're in the finals playing that well. But these guys, no matter what is thrown at them, bad call, they're down by a bunch, they just look at each other and they're just fired up. I get fired up watching them. I can't wait to call one of their games because they're just totally into every rally, more so than any other team, I think. Right now, they're the team that I want to predict they'll be on the podium. That's an obvious kind of jump on the bandwagon kind of thing because they're playing so well. But I can't wait to call their matches.
No, I like that pick. I love that team as well. And Josh, they've inspired me to try to bring a better attitude to this show, even to just live this show Like, I just love it so much. And it just hasn't been going well. I mean, it's just not translating. It's been a real problem. But I mean, we'll watch them in the Olympics for sure and see what they're able to do. Yeah, Mole and Sorum, that's interesting you say that, Josh, about them. I mean, those two teams are pretty hot, right? Like, they've done very well. They've had some great success. But you look down that list, and on the men's side, there's just so many great teams. Like, anybody's a threat, really. We had great teams who could have been a medal threat eliminated, or who didn't even qualify because of country quota numbers, right? Like, there's so many great teams out there. So, man, it's going to be, some of those pool play games are going to be intense, Mark.
Yeah, no, there's some real pools of death, as they're calling it, even on the women's side. Canada, Pavan and Melissa's pool, that's a tough pool. Like, they play their first match against the Dutch team, and that, out of all the fourth-ranked teams in the in the 6 pools, that's the toughest draw, and a tough draw to play in your first match. Because that team, even though they've beaten them all 3 times they've played, it's always gone to 3 and double digits. So it's, and they got nothing to lose. These young Dutch girls, they weren't expecting really to qualify for the Olympics. They went through the continental circuit, and here they are. They're kind of like what I would call a lucky loser, where you didn't qualify the first way, but you somehow got in through the continental circuit, and you're just going to play free.
Well, there's only 2 things that we hate in this world: is people intolerant of other people's cultures, and the Dutch. I mean, so as if we drew them first round. Josh, I saw you making a face at Marquise, and how dare you roll your eyes? You're fact-checking Marquise right now, aren't you?
I feel like
you are fact. Oh yeah, let's go.
They beat us in pool play once. I'm looking it up. I swear we played them in pool play, and it either went to a very deep 3 or they beat us. And I want to look this up because I know Marquise is a man of integrity. I want to make sure we get this right.
You want to make sure you call him out if he's wrong, is what you want to do.
Oh yeah, I'm just waiting. I'm just clicking through here. I'm waiting.
3 times now, and every time it's a third set. You're right on that. But every time it's 15 to something more than 10. I want to say 12. 13 and maybe 13 again. I'm or maybe a 10, but gone to 3 each time. They're 3-0 in the last this year against them.
See,
wrong?
This is the kind of stuff you got to have ready when you're the color commentary guy, because they're like, hey, talk. True. You got to have stuff to talk about. Mark is ready to go. Mark, you're dialed in. Are you in your, like, is this where you're going to be commentating from? Like, are you in your space or what? Like, do you have your notes right next to you?
Imagine when I am in my space and have all
yeah, you get suit on in the zone, man. Yeah, okay. Is there whiteboards all around? Like, you got numbers, or is it just locked up in the brain there?
Josh is going to be like at home now, tweeting to me and telling me just waiting for me to slip up one time.
Yeah, Josh and I are going to be watching.
Like, if you need somebody to slide a piece of paper across your desk, I can be listening to every episode and just writing notes, and I can slide that in, like in baseball when they come up with these just obscure stats. I can be the one to fill it in. You can be like, yeah, back in the 2000 Olympics, we did have an upset when the 12th seed did beat the 8th seed in the 3rd set. I can look that up for you, Mark. I can be that guy.
Well, I'd love that. I'd love that, because they love it when I pull things out, and half the time they probably won't know if I'm making it up or not. But I
Well, Josh will know, because he'll be watching every game to fact check you. And I'll be listening to find every time you chirp somebody. But that, hey, we all watch for different reasons.
Mark is certainly right. And that this team, they showed up on my radar because, one, they were a tough team to scout. They do play a very unique style. But, yes, they've taken us to 3. But Mark was right, Garrett. They've beaten us. Or, excuse me, we've beaten them in 3. So, and the scores have been like 15-12, 15-11. So Mark knows his stuff, Garrett. So this is a good sign.
I mean, you're watching excellence in broadcasting here from somebody on the show, and we're not going to name names, but some of us are bringing excellence in broadcasting. Others are pretenders.
Oh, and Josh, and I don't want to add insult to injury, but did you know that the defender, Shun, her mother played at the Olympics in beach volleyball for the Dutch? Did you know that, Rebecca?
I did not know that. So
all right,
all right.
I thought it was good because
okay. Now you're just dunking on Josh. Okay, you dunked on him, and then you're stepping over him after that, and it's like, okay, it's a bit. Hey, that's what I want to see on CBC. I want to see frickin' Marquise dunking on everybody. Hey, well, that's not the way I did it when I was the bronze medalist at the Olympics. I need that comment.
Yeah, that's not going to get it done. When I used to play, get it done.
The truth is, I was saving that little tidbit information for one of the time, next Friday night. But now
No. Listen, Mark, it's totally fine. Our viewers, nobody's watching, so it's totally fine. I mean, if you are watching, thank you so much. I mean, thank you so much. You're here with Josh Nickel, Mark Heese, and Garrett May. Mark, take us into, because you've won a bronze medal at the Olympics. Speaking of things you're going to dunk on people for on CBC. Are you going to mention that you're a bronze medalist? Like, if nobody says it in your intro, do you bring it up?
Well, I doubt that they won't mention it.
Well, I hope they remember.
It might be the only reason I initially got the job, and maybe even the only reason that I'm holding on to the job. Again, I've been milking it for 25 years now, that bronze medal. I believe they'll mention something about it, and they'll ask for my opinion.
Might even mention his 5th place finish at Celtic, Garrett. Like, maybe that'll be newsworthy too. We'll update the resume. Or
you got to mention that, Mark. You got to say, well, actually, I just placed 5th place at Celtic. Or like, you go play a tournament on the weekend, you take a game off to go play again, then come back into the booth. That shot is way worse than the ones I was hitting all day today in my tournament, by the way.
So if I got hired because of the bronze in Atlanta, I could get fired for any mention of playing a tournament at 52. I don't think they care about me as an athlete anymore, more as a former athlete, I think. But hey, I could be wrong.
Okay, I was going somewhere with that. I promise. You've been there. You've podiumed. You've made it. I mean, we got Canadian teams. I mean, if you're listening and you're from another country, you got your team you're rooting for, right? Everybody's going in, but it's a whole different beast, right? And like the Olympics compared to an FIVB event, the matches are way more spread out. You're playing one match at a time. You're on the center court every time. There's the cameras, everything. You got way more time to prepare. What are these teams looking to do over and above what they do normally to try to manage this and actually get on the podium, right? Because we talked with TJ Sanders a little bit about this in the indoor side, because they're just trying to make, what did they say, Josh, the semi? They're just trying to be, or a quarter. No, they said a quarter.
No, they're trying to make their quarterfinal rested, healthy, ready to go at 100%.
So they're trying to make it out of pool and be in a quarter. They don't care. Like, they just got to get there. And it's a little bit different for them because, you got a lot more pool play games. You got the quarters, right? You don't care about your matchup as much. But in beach, you got a lot less losses you can take and a few more early round games. But there's so much time, right? Where on the FIVB Tour, you may be used to playing your first round game, and then in a few hours, you're playing your second round game. Where now this time between your pool play match, between your next match, you got like maybe a full day, 2 nights rests maybe before that next match, which is, or maybe I'm getting that wrong, but which is super key. Like, how does that change things? And, what do these teams got to do and for our Canadian women to like really bridge that gap and get the job done?
Well, you're right. The Olympics is a tournament like no other. And anybody that tries to go into the Olympics, especially first timers or even second timers, third timers, there's probably a few fourth timers. Josh, do you have any stats on that?
Give me a second.
No. It's got to be there, Josh. It's just got to be there.
I think Phil has played Beijing, London, Rio, and he'll be here in Tokyo. So Phil, off the top of my head, would be my guy.
I knew there was a fourth. Excellent. But anybody that goes into these games and they try to say, well, it's just another game, and it's and they don't really face the fact that this completely different game, because a lot of people will just, no, it's the same game, and they'll try to, sidestep the pressure or sweep it under and just try to, stay mentally tough. No, we can handle this. We're ready for this. This is going to be, we're playing the same team, same size court. All the things you can say to make yourself feel better and relieve the pressure. But I really think that that's a mistake. I think you just have to openly say, well, yeah, this is the big one. And I've been thinking about this since I was a kid, and this is different than any other tournament. And I don't know what to expect. And I think it's going to be pretty overwhelming. So if you expect to get overwhelmed and you're open about it, when it happens, and you have your supporters around you to help you manage it, and you're not trying to ignore it or avoid it. You're just ready to face it. Hey, whatever comes my way, I'm prepared to go, face it, address it, and go barrel right through that pressure. And I that would be my advice to anybody that's going in. Just, expect it to be totally overwhelming leading up to that first match.
I would have said the complete opposite. So I'm really glad I asked that question, because I would have said, oh no, try to bring everything back to what be comfortable. The most comfortable team is going to get the job done. But it sounds like I would have been way off with that assessment. So it sounds like a little bit of vulnerability, a little bit of preparation for the unknown goes a long way in these types of things. Like, you're sitting in the hotel room for a full day, just panicking, I guess. Like, that's maybe something that happens.
Well, and if you're going to bottle it up and try to be tough and macho, no, I can handle anything. I did all my mental training. I'm ready for this. Well, yeah, I fake it till you make it. I just think the truth will show itself, because it really is a different animal. And like you said, not just the games and you get 2 days between things, just, all the other things around you. You're staying in a village, you're watching other sports, you're going to opening ceremonies. There's media after every match, a posse of people supporting you. Like, it's completely different. And I just think if you wake up every day and just expect some challenge, like a lot of challenges, you'll be ready in the match. And, the whistle blows and you're just, hey, and you feel that overwhelming feeling. Hey, man, this is what I expected. It's not going to surprise you, and it's not a secret. So you're just going to go through it. And, if you have to have a few tough rallies to start the game, but trust me, I think you'll recover faster when it's not a surprise or a secret that you're feeling, pressured.
Wow. Okay, Josh, are you clipping this and sneaking that into the scouting report we're sending to our women out there? They're just going to get a little piece of that in their morning little briefing, or?
Absolutely. I think this is the second time on a Passin Dimes episode, Mike, I don't even know why I said that.
Mike East here, Olympic silver medalist, Mike East.
No, the one that got me the first time, Garrett, is I think back to the Marquise episode, one of our most downloaded episodes, by the way. If you haven't done it already, go back. But I think this reminds me when Mark felt like his career took off. Now I'm telling it like I'm telling Mark's story. But if you can combine your personal values to your game, then your career really starts to take off, right? So Mark's a very authentic guy. He's a very passionate guy. So it's just interesting to hear him combining this stuff and not trying to be like this big phony and just saying like, no, the Olympics are special. This is going to be a big moment. And in talking to other athletes on the show, like there's guys like Todd Rogers who skip the opening ceremonies because they know they don't want to walk 2 kilometers, where maybe a first timer is going to be like, no, I'm going to go to everything. And they don't realize the distraction or the noise that comes with a lot of stuff. So I think, yeah, you got to treat it like it is different, because it is different. Absolutely. And I think there is going to be some distractions where I totally agree with what Mark's saying. It is the phoniness. I think it has to show up every once in a while, because this isn't a 4-star or 5-star, Garrett. There's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, well, we don't even see half of it, right? Like, we're not even going to see what all these teams have to do. And I know I fall into the trap of watching and being like, oh, what are they doing? Oh, they're folding up completely. Like, figure it out. But really, like, it's true. Like, you're under such overwhelming pressure. And I think you said something that I didn't even really think about, too, is like media after every game. It's like, oh, yeah, like, no, we just played a pool play game. Like, you like, I got to they got to do a bunch of interviews. Like, maybe I got to go sit on the media desk with Ron McLean or whatever. Like, that is a huge distraction. And I know some people just like, I would ham it up, but that would be a huge distraction for me in a different way. I'd be like, oh yeah, give me more of that. But for some people, maybe just as like, no, that's totally taken me away from my focus. That's something I wouldn't have even thought of. Would like, oh, yeah, I got to talk. Wait, I can't head right into my post match. Like, I got to go and talk to a bunch of people for like, I don't know, an hour. Like that's wild to me.
Even the support staff, Garrett, like even when I find myself being on tour, I'm thinking like I'm there to help the athletes. But think about the amount of times you went on tour, Garrett. How many times did you have a coach or a support staff or somebody to warm you up?
So I'd be like, get out of here.
Not the
I don't
same,
need you.
Right? So even as a coach, I try not to get in the way and I try to support and stuff. Now it's the Olympics. There's people with badges there from Sport Canada who don't even know you, but they want to be around the venue. They want to show off their badge. Like,
guys are getting carried away. They make mountains out of molehills. It's not that big a deal.
Whoa,
geez, Mark. Let me
no.
tell you,
You
Mark,
said
it's you.
it was a big deal. You said it. You got to accept it. We're
You got
accepting
this
it.
guy on CBC talking you up, criticizing you in front of your friends and family. Like,
Yeah, that's a big one, Mark. Everybody in Canada's watching. You're going to criticize one of our 4 women for making a mistake? Everyone's going to hear it.
Well, you're the one that wants me to
Oh, I
dig
want
in.
that. No, I do want that.
I'm trying to appease the host of this show. Geez, I can't do it all here, Garrett.
Well, listen, we can't do any of it. So we're just thankful that you joined us. I mean, thanks for watching. If you're still watching, I mean, we appreciate it.
No, but people, when we won the medal, people think, okay, we had this great run, but I got overwhelmed, and I'm sure John, if he was on the show, he might fess up as well. But I got overwhelmed in our first match. We lost 15-1. People don't remember that part, but we got crushed in our first match against Spain. It was a double elimination format back then. We were one of the top seeds. We had just won the World Tour event in Berlin 2 weeks before, so there's some media, and I just remember it. And I tried to fake it. I didn't come clean. And sure enough, the truth showed itself. We lost 15-1 in 20 minutes. I might have got 3 points the whole match, 1 game to 15. They just served me every ball, out, blocked. At 5-0, I think the ball blocked and came back and packed me in the face, and it was over. And then I fessed up, because then we had a meeting with Hernan, Melissa's dad, who was our coach, and John and our mental trainer, and they're all looking at me like, what happened? And I'm just like, well, yeah, maybe I should have mentioned something before the match, but I was crapping my pants. And the feeling I had just saying that, and then a few minutes later, they're still around, and they're still on my side, and they're still getting fired up for the next match. Like, honesty is the best policy. That really rang true. And I was honest with my support system, and we came back, and overnight I went from playing my worst to my best. And 4 or 5 days later, we played that same Spain team to get in the medal rounds. They went on to upset Brazil, and they were playing pretty well, but we beat them 15-4 to get into the semis. So that's how much pressure can play a role, and how things can turn around when you're open with your teammates. There you go.
Well, on that note, Josh, is there anything you really need to share with me? Like, I mean, do you need to? Is there something missing here? Like, we have a big shooter, Mark, on the show. Like, are you?
I think I should openly and honestly thank you, Garrett, because we popped off on last week's episode being like, oh, we're getting all these people reaching out. We have all these people who want to be guests, but we didn't have a guest last week. So it was nice that Mark came through and you did the legwork, the logistics to get him scheduled. We do have some more guests reaching out, but I think that was a big play because we were so confident and just so happy that all these people wanted to be on the show. But the proof was in the pudding, Garrett. Nobody was on the show. Nobody showed up last week.
We got so many people who want to come on the show. No guests. Yeah.
You got that overwhelming feeling at the beginning of last show, no guests, and yeah,
we did.
Well, Garrett had taken a holiday. We were on break. We came back. We were all excited, but we didn't put the work in. We didn't find a guest.
Well, listen, and then I put the work in this week. I'm asking around, and then you know what happens? We get a frickin' no-show. What the heck? How can we have not? We got out 50 minutes and we haven't even gone there. Speaking of, really criticizing people, Mark. I'm looking so forward to. You're not going to do it though. You're too nice. You're too much of a professional. You're just a great guy overall. I can't. We have sharp cuts, and I can't do it. I can't do it, Josh. I can't chirp Marquise. I owe him too much. He's just coming in here being vulnerable, honest. What is this? This is pillow fight, not sharp cuts. But
we found the one guy in the volleyball community with no enemies, Garrett. That's our problem. We need to get some more conflict on the show.
Yeah, who hates you, Mark? Because we'll get them on next week.
I don't know. I got a question. I got a few bones to pick with somebody out there. I just can't think of them off the top of my head.
Well, you might, but do they with you?
Maybe. Probably. Yeah, I don't know. Jeez, I might have pissed somebody off. I'm sure, I got into a fair number of altercations on the court during a match, especially in my later years. Definitely a few players out there, but I don't know. Hey, you know what you said earlier about wanting to get to the quarters, I think that would probably, not to switch the subject, but the U.S. Olympic team has a goal of getting to the quarters. To me, that sounds strange.
Okay, yes.
Right? That sounds strange. And I know to your father and maybe to you, like your goal is to come fifth. That seems a little wacky especially for a country that's won gold in the past and has all that talent. But I would, first of all, we made that mistake. Was it a mistake? In Atlanta, we said, you know what? John Child actually came up with this suggestion. We were talking about performance goals with Hernan and our mental trainer. He said, you know what? I want to feel what it's like to be in a quarterfinal match at the Olympics to get into the medal rounds. That's what he honestly just came out, when we were talking about it, John, I got something to say. I want to feel what it's like to be in the quarterfinals. And I was a little bit surprised. John doesn't, we just won, we're going for gold. But all of a sudden, I thought for a moment, wow, is he kind of selling us short? Well, we got to the quarterfinals, and we had the best match of our, for those that might say, oh, well, if your goal is to get to the quarters, you're going to get there, and then that's it. You're not. Well, we had the best match of the tournament against, Spain. That just, I already explained that, but 15-4 quarterfinals, and then went on to step on the podium. So, and then in the next two, for Sydney and Athens, we had these goals to win gold, and we lost in the quarters. So maybe it's smart, because they are like two separate tournaments. Pool play, you got to get out of pool play. Once you get into the playoffs or get to the round of 16 or final 8, then we'll reset our goals. But there's a lot of work to do, and you're talking about gold, but you can dream gold. But I think there is some value to say, no, we got to get to that quarters, and we got to bring our best in that quarters. And if you can get into that match, you're going to be playing at a good level.
Yeah.
And if you I just think there is some value to that, and I'm sure we can get into a good argument.
I thought it was a bit weird when he said it, but then I thought about it, because indoor and beach would be very different, right? I didn't get it for beach, because in beach, you have to get there. You have to do everything. In indoor, they don't necessarily play the same 7 guys for every match, right? They mix it up a little bit. I mean, we'll see what Team Canada men do at this tournament, but for them, it's maybe a different, it's hey, we want everybody, we need to get out of pool. So we need to do what we need to do and get into the quarter. And we want everybody playing well when we hit the quarter, so that when we run our full lineup, we're ready to go, because we want to win gold. But if we make it to the quarter and we've either burnt ourselves out or we blew our load early in the rounds, but on beach, it didn't quite make sense to me. Well, no, I have to deliver and perform and win every single game along the way. There's no warming into this, or it didn't quite make sense to me. But then again, it sounds like it worked out for you a little bit in that Athens games.
No, nobody said that our goal is to finish fifth. Nobody said I just want to finish in the quarters. Nobody said that was the end. But their goal and is to get to that quarterfinals, and then you're in that new tournament, and you're in that position. You've got this fresh perspective, and you're playing at a good level, and then you go on adrenaline, you ride the wave, and then you get So I don't want to say it's bad. I don't want to say it. I think it's different for everybody, but for a guy like John Child, that came naturally to him, and it worked. We got to that quarters, and he played amazing in that quarter. So there you go.
Well, I hope we see 2 Canadian teams in the quarterfinals in Tokyo. That would be amazing. I just really hope, and I'll put this out there, and maybe I'm giving it life, but I'm going to do it because I need to speak it. I really hope they don't have to play each other. Are you kidding me? In Rio, our 2 Canadian women's teams got to flip and play each other early rounds. What are we doing? Would you throw, Josh, would you throw a game? Mark, would you just try to fudge it if you could?
I don't think on the beach you can. There's too much shuffling, and with the threes playing and the lucky losers or the point ratio to get through, I don't think the beach draw can be manipulated that well that you would risk throwing a match.
That's true. You can't do it.
You know what? I disagree with you, Garrett. Your other Canadian team, it's just another team. Like you play them in the quarter. Like I guess if you're a Canadian fan and you
I'm out.
This dream of two Canadians in the finals or something. But if you are a fan, and they're both playing in the quarters, well, you definitely have at least one team in the medal round. But as a player, I'm trying to think back. Like, was I worried or cared? Did I care whether we were going to play Conrad Lineman and Jody Holden or not? No, in fact, I might have wanted to.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you're part of Team Canada, but in beach volleyball, like in sprinting or in swimming, if you look over on the start line and you got another guy from your country, he's just another opponent, and you have to be ready to bury them. Well, and that you're right. It happened in Rio, and maybe some people were upset about it, but I thought, wow, this is great.
Well,
it's going to be a match.
I was upset about it because I'm out. I'm out of it. I'm not, like, if I'm competing, for sure, like, I'm got to take out whoever's in my way. But as I'm a fan, like, I want to see more Canadian volleyball. I want to hear Marquis commentate on more Canadian matches. And the longer both teams are still in the tournament, the more we get to see that. So, I mean, let's hope for a lot of Canadian matches.
Complimenting me, Garrett. Come on, like, dig into me on something. What have I done? Have I ever done anything that you just want to say something to give me a little razz? Like, come on, let's hear it.
No, I don't have it, Mark. I don't have it. I might have it after.
I don't expect to get ever invited back to this show ever again if you're not prepared to dig into me about something.
No, I'm prepared. I guess I'm unprepared. I'm ready, but I don't have the ammunition. But
even those nights at Beach Blast where you were training for Beach, Garrett, and nobody else wasn't it just you and Mark going late on like Sundays? Like, you never thought, like, this guy is just giving me the gears right now and I'm working the hardest. I'm the only guy in Canada doing this and this guy's giving me the gears. Like, you've never once been like, this Marquis guy does not know what he's talking about.
Not a single time. Not a single time.
How about that time that we were doing secret training in the morning? And I said, to finish off our little session here, Garrett, we're going to do some sprints with the posts on the courts. And we went all the way down, sprint, jog. And at the end of it, I'm pretty sure you yacked up something. And then, like, you didn't turn to me and want to give me the gears then. Like, come on. Like,
probably in that moment, for sure. But at this point, no, like, I would do that. Like, I will do that again in my life. I will do that thing we did.
No, you won't.
No.
You'll ever do that again.
No, I'm doing that. I'm doing that next Tuesday. I'm going to be down there. You're going to see me running the posts, both of you guys.
Next Tuesday at what time? I'll be there. I'll run them with you.
All right. Let's do it.
Check the results. This hasn't happened. Oh, there's not going to be posted results.
This is what I was saying is I'm ready to dig into you about, though, is if you fold up completely with Marcus and lose to Josh's guys, that's unacceptable. And if you don't chirp anybody on the commentary on CBC, Mark, like, hey, we're setting up the bigs here. We'll have to have you back after it's all done to have a debrief.
Let me write that down. My to-do list for Garrett is to beat a national team player this coming weekend.
100%. I would love that and hate it if you didn't.
I don't even know give me a list. Send me a list of
I don't even know the list. And you know what? I just need Josh to be pissed about it. That's what I need.
Valius. Is Austin on the national team?
No. Although if you check his Instagram, maybe
no, if you lose to Austin, we'll be embarrassed. You can't lose to Austin.
Okay, Austin. I got to beat Austin Valius.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. Okay.
You got it. No, you got it.
Remember, and what was? I got to dig into somebody on my CBC commentary. I had a friend last night. I went over to dinner with my friend, and he says, I can't even remember the word because this happens a lot. People say, hey, if you work in this word somehow into your commentary, I'll give you, it'll be a shout out to me. Come on, you got to work it in. And I can't remember.
You can't remember the word? You blew it.
Oh, I wasn't going to, but
you told him no anyway. Yeah, no, I'm not doing
that. No.
Why don't I put it out there, Garrett and Josh, for sharp cuts? Is there something you want me to try to?
Yeah, sharp cuts. Sharp cut.
2 episodes every Monday.
Sharp cuts. Like, I think it's obvious.
What if I got a sharp cut for like match point, gold medal match point? What a sharp cut by Pavin!
Yes.
For the gold.
Sharp cut. Subscribe.
And then subscribe. New episodes every Monday.
That would be pretty cool if I could do that. Okay.
I'm cutting the episode right here. That's too good. It's just done. No, we're like that. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I mean, Mark, I don't have anything, but we'd love to have you back, honestly. Yeah, I think my dad would have a lot more ammunition for you. So if you're looking for that, you're gonna have to give him the gears about bailing on the show. But
he would definitely have some type of loaf in the bread kind of story for sure.
Yeah. So, but this is how the show ends, Mark, is, a lot of times I find, Josh, we get to the end of the show and we're like, we could keep going. Sometimes
Definitely.
we don't. And we're not going to tell you which guests.
You've got no more ammunition, so we can't keep going in this case. You got nothing. You just said it. No ammunition.
No, hey, well, we got a lot more to talk about. In terms of ammunition, I don't. Like, I will wear that. But you got to come back, though, because I'll be ready.
So, Josh, let me get this straight. Mole Sorum not on the podium in Tokyo.
Oh,
That's kind of alluded to that. Anybody else? Any other favorites that you're going to say are going to tank in Tokyo?
I think the only team I don't want to see do well, Mark, is Semenov, Leshnikov. I think those guys can go suck a lemon. I'm not a big fan of their game or how they carry themselves on tour. So if I'm rooting against anybody, it's Russia 2. I do like Russia 1. I think Krasnolnikov is quite good. I think Kantor Loziak getting in as a 4 seed is going to make their pool a pool of death. I think there's a lot of deep depth going on. But I think Mol and Sorum are a fantastic team, and I think they'll do well. I just think their performance lately has given doubt that I think there's some drama where 2 years ago I would have been like, okay, they're going to win, and who else is going to be in the semis was going to be my argument. But now I think it's a little bit more wide open.
Fair enough. So you don't think Garrett's ready to end the show? So here I open a can of worms.
No, it's a classic maneuver by some of our guests to, when the show is ending, extend further and just bring up.
Your dad would introduce a new topic.
Just keep it
No,
going.
I wanted to clarify because it sounded like he was going against Mol and Sorum, and I think that's a pretty ballsy call.
I'll go against Mol and Sorum then. Let's go.
Okay, so you don't think that they won how many events in a row, and then this year they're just kind of trying to peak? Like, are they going to win every match, every tournament, all for 4 months leading up to the Olympics to peak it? Yeah, I think that they're just getting prepared.
I have no idea.
I think teams have started to serve Mole, and they've won some games. So now it's shifted the game plan, because it was almost like a Todd Rogers Phil thing where everybody was going at Todd and everybody's going at Christian Sorum, and they're getting results. Now somebody's like, you know what? We probably don't have the best chance here. Let's go with the big and see what happens. And all of a sudden, we won. We beat the Volley Vikings. So I think it gives a little bit of hope for some teams where I think Christian Sorum's pretty automatic. Mole, you're going to give up a lot of loud side outs. He's going to side out like crazy, but he's going to hit some balls out of bounds too.
I think the Volley Vikings were just setting a little trap.
Would you ever do that, Mark? Would you throw a pre-Olympic match to be like, but they're going to watch our game tape on this, Garrett? It's false information.
No, I just think it's natural. I would never throw a match. I just think it's natural for a team who's got all this hype, and it's not the time to win. And you got 4 months leading up, and you're preparing. It's called periodization, and I shouldn't have to say that to a national.
Garrett's
team.
never heard of it, but I
honestly haven't. Nobody went through that with me. Like, that's not a joke. What is that? No, I don't. Are they doing that? Great.
You're right. Garrett wants to win every tournament, and that's what he did. But I just think it's natural to have a little bit of a letdown. Maybe it's nobody said, hey, I want to lose a couple of games going in so I don't have all this, but it happened to Pavin and Melissa, right? They had this streak, and naturally, as they're getting ready and preparing for this peak in early August, you can't be winning every match in April, and everybody knows that, including the players. So, it's just a natural thing to have a little bit of a letdown and work your way up and ramp up and be ready. I think again, it's not necessarily intentional, Mole to not side out the way he's going to side out in Tokyo, but I think it's just a natural thing for the top teams to do. Anyways, periodization. Period. End of the show.
Garrett doesn't believe in that. He just trains to a full 10 out of 10 every single practice.
Yeah, I need to learn about periodization.
There's no peaks and valleys. It's every day's a go.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand that, and I mean, I need to learn more. And Mark, you've helped us. You've educated us. Now, we may not talk to you for a while, although you're playing in a tournament this weekend. We'll probably see you around, but then you're going to be hard in the Olympics, and we're going to be right there with you. Except you won't feel us. So, I mean, good luck. I hope you don't accidentally curse on camera.
You'll see me. Oh, you hear me. 3 a.m.
Will I see you? Will you be on camera?
Rarely. Once in a while, we'll do a stand-up, but
nice.
Twice, 3 times in the Olympics. So you'll probably miss it.
Get ready for that close-up. I hope you don't accidentally say a curse word on air. That would be awful. Although I don't hear you curse often in real life, so that's probably fine. But yeah, good luck. You'll catch Mark on CBC, and I think we got to end the show because if we don't, us volleyball people, we could go all night. We could go all night, and we'll have to have you back, Mark. So thanks everyone for watching. Josh, you got anything to say?
No, I think we're good there. New episodes every Monday. What a sharp cut for the gold medal, Garrett.
For the gold medal, sharp cut. It's happening.